In understanding the DSLR, mechanics is just the first step. What's wrong with this picture is next.
Hey, welcome to What's Wrong with This Picture. I'm Andy McCaskey from RVNN TV, joined by professional photographer Dennis Guillaume. And so the mechanics is just the first step in getting the most out of your DSLR.
Right, and at this point now, we've gone through all those mechanical things, and now we're going to talk a little bit about the creative side of things, or composition, and how we make the picture look as good as possible from a compositional point of view.
All right, so we're going to head back to your favorite simulator here.
Yeah, it's become my favorite simulator in a very short period of time.
Exactly, and this is found at CameraSim.com, and there's a variety of things that you'll find on that site. On the left-hand side are a number of free simulators that you can run directly from your computer. Then on the right-hand side, they also have very inexpensive simulators that you can load onto your iPhone or iPad.
Right. Or actually, you can put it, there's one choice that you can download it to your Windows or Mac computer and use it on there.
And use it on the computer as well.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick look. We've been spending a lot of time at the top one here.
Yeah, we were using the simulator. We were using the Camera Explained module. Now we're going to go to Focus, Frame, and Shoot. I think I would have said Focus, Frame, and Fire, but anyway. In any case, here we are, and we're looking at, well, obviously we haven't focused yet. Here we're looking at what's going to happen when you actually get ready to frame that picture and get the best shot. Number one thing that I like about what they say here is use the center point of focus. And you've got a choice on your DSLR. You can activate all these different points around in a diamond shape or whatever, and depending on how much you paid for your camera, you get more of these points. But the fact of the matter is, the only one that I think is really important is the center one.
Okay, so she's out of focus, you know, you're breathing and the camera's moving up and down, she's moving back and forth a little bit, so it's a pretty realistic simulation.
Yeah, and hopefully with your camera lens, you've got a stabilizer on it that helps to keep that thing, while your hand holding it, keep it steady. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to click on, it says click anywhere to begin. I'll do that, and now I've got 3 steps that I'm going to follow here. It says focus, in this case with your mouse, and you notice as I move my mouse around, there is a target there that will move for me. So I'm going to put that on the part that I want to be in focus. In this case, I've always said make sure the eyes are in focus. Everything else
will take care of itself.
Yeah. So here she is. I'm going to put it right on her eye, and I'm going to push. I'm going to click on that, and look what happens. She's in focus. Now I'm still holding down that mouse button, but she's in focus. Now what I can do is I can start to move that mouse around, and look what happens. I can move her wherever I want, still holding the mouse button down. I can compose the shot. I don't want her dead center. That's a kind of a bad idea.
Yeah.
But
that's a tendency that folks might have from a snapshot perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get everybody lined up. They're in front of the mountain or the lake or whatever you want to take, and
it's not
smiles.
It's not the best composition. Really, if you remember the rule of thirds that we talked about some time back, one of the things we can do is we can move this over into one of those areas of the shot that make room and allow you to balance a little bit and put the focal center just off center.
Okay, so let's take a close
look
at
that picture. Now, in order for me to do that, I'm going to let go of the button, and in the case of your camera, you'd finish pushing the button down. And so what happens here is click the photo. It says this is that's a keeper. What we've done is the program kind of likes the way we composed it. It's blurred the background because of the settings that we've had set on the camera, which means that the aperture is probably open a bit, and that's allowing us to blur the background. If we wanted that more in focus back there, we'd make the aperture smaller, and we could still get a good shot, but it would just be in focus back there.
Is the light meter reading over the entire photograph, or is it right where you've picked the focus?
It depends. If you're using that center focus point, it's going to read that as the primary light source. if you have all those focal points active, it's going to try to average them out, and that's where I have a little problem. I want the point of focus, the thing that I'm most interested in, to have the best exposure and to be the most in focus. So that's why I like the idea of finding that focal point and making sure I'm focused there. Everything else can be controlled by whether I change the ISO, I change the aperture opening or the shutter speed in order to make the depth of field greater or smaller.
If you looked at that photograph, where would be some other alternate composition points that that would make sense or would increase the visual interest of the shot?
In this particular case, she's kind of looking to her right, to the left of the photo. Okay, so that's kind of the way she's got her head oriented. So my natural instinct is to want to move her a bit off to the right side of the picture so she's looking into the picture. Now I can...
And you're dividing into thirds
right.
Vertically and horizontally.
I'm putting a tic-tac-toe grid right on that whole picture. Now let's just say that I decide, all right, I'm going to shoot her dead center. Now it's going to say, it's going to show me, it's going to say the focus is right on, but you should reframe your shot before snapping the picture. It doesn't like it either when you put it in the center. Now if I click again on here and we start over again, I could take this and I could say, all right, I want to focus on her, but now I'm going to move her off over here someplace, and I'm going to say, okay, take that picture, and it says good focus, but your framing looks a bit odd. Give it another try.
Okay.
The thing that's odd about it is she's off to the left. The rest of the shot is behind her. It just doesn't look comfortable. It doesn't look like a good balance.
And you also don't know what she's looking at. So the
Right.
interest of the story that the photograph is telling, or could tell,
Yep.
You're kind of shorting them.
Right. Now, here's another thing that it'll kind of help you with composition. I'm going to focus again on her. I'm going to move her off to the extreme right of the picture and take that shot, and it says good job, try moving the subject away from the edge of the frame for your next shot though. Okay, in other words, it doesn't like it when you've pushed her some really almost out of the area of interest.
What about headroom, the amount of sky that you would show above the model?
Depending on how zoomed into the model or the subject you are. It's customary these days to, it's not bad to cut some of the head off and to cut a little bit of one side or the other off. That's very common, but you have to be in tight enough to where that is a comfortable way to look at the picture. If I did this right now, it probably won't, I don't know, I've not done that, but it probably won't like me for it. So I'm going to take her over here and I'm going to cut her head off. All right, now when I let that go, it says good focus, but your framing looks a little odd. Give it another try. In other words, it doesn't like it in this particular situation, having taken the top of her head off. And it's probably right. I kind of agree with it there a little bit.
Right, right. But again, it's the expression of the subject that's probably the most valuable portion of the photograph.
Right, exactly. Now, when I take this focus point off and I focus the background, oops, it didn't like that. Let's try that again. Let me get over here and let me focus on this. All right, now you see the background is focused?
Right.
But
right.
look at her. Now if I let that go, it's gonna say, whoops, your focus is blurry, and your subject is blurry. Make sure the girl is in focus. It didn't like this because what it perceives as the subject is not at all in focus, and instead we focus on the wrong part. Now you can do that with that center focusing feature, and you probably don't want to. If you're going to have somebody in the picture, you want them to be in focus too. Now we can make them both in focus, as I said earlier, by changing the depth of field.
Exactly.
And closing down on the aperture.
Is there any situation when you would not want to use the center focus technique, where you want to pay attention to the red X's that the DSLR is suggesting? Yeah,
there are in panoramas, for example, or in shots of scenic kinds of things. It's possible that using that averaging technique might give you a better overall exposure. I won't say that you never are going to use that those multiple points. I have a tendency, it's my own preference and opinion, I have a tendency to try to have total control over what is in focus, and I'm making sure that what I shoot is something that I want to be in focus with.
Okay. Anything else in this portion of the simulator that that draws your attention?
No, at this point, I think what we're really interested in is the fact that this is an excellent way to practice taking pictures and learn how to focus, frame, and shoot that picture and get the best results. Now, once you've done that, there's always room for some improvement in your post-production editor, whether it be Photoshop or any number of other editors. I've never seen a digital photo that didn't benefit from a little sharpening, for example, and things like that. But you can minimize the amount of time you have to spend in post-production if you've taken a good shot in first place.
So one of the secrets in becoming a professional photographer, such as yourself, is take a lot of pictures. A
lot of pictures.
Right.
And go ahead, don't be afraid of making mistakes. In this day and age of digital photography, mistakes are cheap.
Mistakes are cheap.
It didn't used to be that way in film days.
That's certainly true. And many of us who have had film as our background are still just a little bit apprehensive about shooting up 100 exposures of something.
And you don't have to be. Get yourself a good sized memory card and shoot away. It's, you're going to learn more and you're going to learn faster if you just allow yourself to practice. This kind of an app, though, is makes it possible for you to practice almost anywhere.
Right, right. And you know, one of the things that I love about this show is to hang out and learn the vocabulary. You make exposures, I take pictures.
Yeah, and you end up with pictures, and I end up with images.
This is true. Hey, listen, thanks very much for joining us here. Don't forget our Pinterest board at RV Newsnet, RVNN TV, because there is a What's Wrong with This Picture segment, a special board just for Dennis's photos, and he has some great examples there that I know that you'll enjoy. Just circle us on G+ and Facebook, all those sorts of things. But also, don't forget that using your Twitter account and the hashtag 3WTP, what's wrong with this picture, 3WTP, you can send comments on the shows or questions directly to Dennis. So that's about it. Dennis, thanks for a great series on a wonderful tool. We're going to be talking about panoramas sometime on an upcoming episode. So
right.
Make sure you stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andy McCaskey at RVNN TV.
Hey, Gabe, wanna go for a walk? Gabe? Gabe? Gabe?
Hey, buddy, you lost? Hold on.
If your pet is the adventuresome type, be sure he's connected to PetHub. A quick scan using any smartphone shares your pet's vital information so that even his wildest escapades have a happy ending. PetHub, reuniting pets with their families.
Come on, Gabe, let's go home.